What's up everybody, my name is Mo and I did hit record in that camera. I just forgot about that, but everything is working. And welcome to the Mo.re.Drums channel and a new video. And this is gonna be a review slash setup test and kind of walkthrough of a product that I would have liked to gotten my hands on a lot longer ago, actually. I think I read about it and saw the first kind of news about it in 2023 even, but it's taken me this long to actually acquire it because that's proven to be very difficult, and the coverage on the product, even though it's, I think, the first of its kind, has been pretty much zero so far. I've not seen it with any other drummers, influencers, some really small YouTube channels, like people who just put out some general info on it. But from the manufacturer, the brand itself, and also the distribution here in Germany, I've not seen or heard anything as of yet, with one exception, and shout out to my man Drumtex, who is the only one I've actually talked about this product with, because he is using it as a drum tech on stage with his artists. So Tex, thank you for telling me that you actually liked it and that it's worth getting. So I jumped through a couple of hoops, and also thanks to Frederick at Drumstation in Maintal for being persistent and actually getting it into my hands finally. So what I'm actually talking about, sorry this was a long intro, it's the Snareweight Fader F1, and I'm gonna see if I can actually put it into the camera a bit closer, or I have to zoom in because of the lighting situation. But I'm gonna shoot some B-roll, and this is a second new thing about this video actually. I'm shooting everything besides the top-down view, which is, where's the camera? Right there, which is with a second camera of course, but everything else, including the B-roll, I am shooting on the Osmo Pocket 3, which I've bought recently to do some behind-the-scenes footage of a video shoot. But I'm digressing from what I actually want to talk about, the Snareweight Fader F1. So what does Snareweight do? They've been around for a couple of years, and I've owned, I think, most of their products at some point, and Snareweight was the first thing that they did, well, pretty much close to the brand name. It was a really heavy and well-made machined snare dampening device, and it was made out of a big chunk of metal, and you could magnetically attach it to your snare drum hoop, and then you had leather inserts to actually do some modular dampening of the snare drum or any other drum you wanted to attach it to. And there was a junior version, there was like the fully fledged pro version. It worked with brass and, sorry, not brass, die-cast tubes, of course, the regular double or triple flange tubes as well. I think it also worked with S-hoops. I don't own any of them myself, but let me know in the comments if that actually holds true or if I'm talking out of my ass. But anyhow, the Snareweight Fader F1 is the latest in a long line of dampening products that Snareweight did so far. And there were the cuts, they were called, I think with a Z in the end. There were just basically cutouts of mylar film that you could put onto the drum, and they attached via a clip. But I think most famous Snareweight has become for their leather dampening tools that you can attach to the rim. I have the Snareweight M1 right here, which is kind of the most popular version, I think, the small one. And the cool thing about it is, like, the leather is really thick and it has small magnets on each side, so you can actually tape it down to the middle and make the dampening modular with that as well. I'm just gonna hold that into the camera real quick. I'm not quite sure if that's gonna work with the lighting, but yeah, let's try. So Snareweight M1 right here. Yeah, that looks good. Here we go. And the M1, actually I have on my rack tom right now, so let me reattach that here. Goes onto the rim, and it also kind of works like a gate because it hops up a little when you hit the drum, and then it comes back down again. And you can also just flip it up and basically not dampen the drum at all in that configuration. So with that even longer intro, let's get to the juicy bit, the Snareweight Fader F1. Why is it called a fader? Well, let me show you in a close-up, and again, let's try to hold that into the camera right here. I think the light doesn't really allow me to do that too well. I have to readjust that in the future. I'm gonna shoot some B-roll to show you. So it says fader on the thing itself. It's quite big actually. And what it does, it looks like a fader on a mixing console or a DJ mixer for that matter. And you can actually slide the dampener that is, again, leather underneath on the bottom. And you can slide it up and down to go, well, a lot more onto the head or a lot less, depending on the setting. And it has an off position, basically, and then it goes from 1 through 5. And the cool thing about it is, let me just attach it to my snare drum. In the off position, and it comes on, or it goes on really easily. It comes off not too quickly, like you have to really do the movement in the right way, because the clip, again, I'm going to show you more details and some B-roll shots. The clip is a bit like the others, basically, but it's recessed in, well, in the center of the device, and there is a screw at the back of it as well, which lets you adjust the angle depending on how your drum is set up and where you position it. And if you tighten it, then it stays in position, and then you just snap it onto the hoop, like so. And like on the snare drum, which is where I tried it out mostly so far, the off position is the one where it barely touches the head, like just on the very edge of it. And then it shouldn't dampen it at all, basically, or just so little that you won't notice. And I'm gonna show you some snare heads with how that sounds right now. A bit of context: this is a Benny Greb 13 by 5.75 inches, the 2.0 version in brass. So that's the snare I'm dealing with. I have a Snareside 300 Evans Reso head on it, a original Sonar snare wire, the brass one as well, I think 20 strands. And I have an Evans Onyx head on the top right now. And the internal dampening of the snare drum is disabled because it has 2 internal dampeners. So this is a bit of overkill with something on the top, because you have these rail mounts inside the snare with a round felt bit and kind of a faux sheep fur one. But I have other snare drums that don't have internal dampening, so this is where this will become useful, hopefully. And again, I'm going to show you how that sounds with some snare hits. I'm going to do some very light editing of the snare, so it just sounds well in context with the rest of the drum kit when I play it all together. But I won't use any samples and I won't overdo it with the editing, so it's going to be close to the original sound of the drum, just so you know what I'm going to be doing in the post-processing steps of this video. So here is the Snareweight Fader F1 in the off position on my snare drum. Here we go. And let's play a little groove. So this is Snareweight Fader F1 in the off position. And what I'm going to do now to show you how granular the dampening actually works is play some hits while I slide the fader downward in, let's say, the 3 position. So right in the middle, or 2.5 if you want to be precise. So right now it's off, and I'm going to be sliding it down to the 3 position. And now in that position, let's play it again. So going from 0 dampening to the middle position, quite a bit of a difference in the overtones and in the length of the sustain of the drum. I'm going to go back to the 0 position to show you the other way around, basically. So going from 3, and now a hard cut to 0. A lot more ringing in the overtones, a lot more of the brass shell coming through and the head resonating freely compared to, again, 0 and 3. Very noticeable. And now let's go to the kind of extreme dampening where the leather on the bottom of the F1 is fully pressed down onto the head. We're talking about right now in the 3 position of the dampener being applied about a, I would say, distance of 2.5–3 centimeters of the leather pad applying pressure to the head and dampening it. So in the 5 position, on the other hand, and again, there's going to be some detailed shots of this. This is about, I would say, 4 to 5 centimeters of the leather patch pressing down on the drum head. So let's hear how that sounds. And again, kind of an A-B comparison between the 5. Then let's go back to the 0 position to have both extremes. And in this case, between off and the maximum dampening, again, the difference is huge. For me personally, I think the middle ground is kind of where I want to live with my sound, especially because this is already a 2-ply head. So the 5, the maximum dampening position, would be a bit too much for my taste. But I can really imagine if you have like a really ringy snare, something with, again, like a brass shell like this one is, but with a bigger diameter or a bigger depth, something like a 14x7 or 14x8 even, or something with a steel shell that's even more ringy and not as full-bodied in the sound. And if you then have a single-ply head without any dampening applied to it, the 5 position might just be enough. So it really depends on your situation and your setup. And now to the bit that is kind of besides the modularity or the granularity of the dampening. That is kind of where this product does something that no other that I know of so far has ventured, because this is, I think, from the marketing of the product on the manufacturer's website directly from Snareweight, this is intended to go on the resonance side of a floor tom, for example, as well, because due to the way it's mounted and due to the mechanism and how it's pushing the leather against the bottom head, it actually works even with the gravity pulling it down. Because if I wanted to apply the M1, for example, to the bottom head, it would kind of sag and hang down and not push against the head enough to actually dampen it. I've tried it. It's kind of okay-ish, but it really doesn't do too much. And so all the flexibility you have on the top head kind of goes out the window at the bottom head. And of course, you might say there is other dampening methods for toms. Of course, you can go on the better side of the heads. And I'm actually using on my floor toms, I'm going to just hold them into the camera right here, the Mini Muffs by Rohima, Mr. Muff. And they are a bit bigger and really kind of like a dead kitten vibe to it. But I'm using those on my floor toms. But what they also do is they changed the way the attack sounds, and the way you hit the drum is really different because of the rebound changing due to this massive dampener applied to the batter head side. And what the fader enables you to do is actually, depending on, again, how you like your sound and how you like your toms to resonate or not resonate for that matter, it allows you to dampen the resonance side head so much that it's almost, not exactly, but almost like dampening the better side head, but without any of the implications on the attack or the way the better head resonates and gives you rebound. So that's a whole new dimension of this. And what I'm gonna do now is, and bear with me here, I'm gonna speed this up probably, and I'm gonna mount it to my 14 and then my 16-inch floor tom, and then give you an idea how the sound of those is changed by the Snareweight Fader F1. So bear with me real quickly. And while I'm doing this, I might not speed this up actually, I'm just gonna disable and that's really cool about the mini muffs as well, I can just flip them up to disable them. So these are in a way also modular, but let's do the following. I'm gonna mount the Fader F1 to my 14-inch floor tom right now, and without any dampening, I'm going to show you how the 14-inch sounds. I've disengaged the top side dampener as well. This is in the off position right now on the Reso side of the floor tom. I'm using Onyx on the top again, and I have the EC resonant heads on the bottom, and I use internal miking. So if you're missing or if you're searching for the mics on the floor toms, you won't see them because they're mounted internally. On the snare drum, I had the V7X by SE Electronics, and inside of the toms I have the V-Beats. So they are mic'd, and you can actually hear them in a second. So this is how the 14-inch sounds without any dampening to it. And again in the groove. All right, now let's do the following. This is how they would sound with the mini muff enabled. And a quick A/B. So the sustain is a lot longer without the dampening, of course. And now I'm gonna enable the Snareweight Fader F1, and I kind of have to assume the position of the fader itself, but I can kind of feel where the rail is right now. And so this is the middle position of the fader. And again, the top side dampening is disabled. So I don't have anything dampening the top side of the head. This is just the resonant head right now. And now I'm going to go to the maximum, the 5 position. And again, quick A/B between 5 and completely off. And now let's do top and bottom head dampening in the absolute maximum. So I'm engaging the top side dampening with the mini muffs, and I'm setting the fader F1 to the 5 position. So this is the shortest I can probably get this drum without taping it down without applying gaffer's tape or some sort of tissue on the top, or something like the little like balls of like cosmetic pads inside of the drum. But again, like, there is nothing that couldn't be done before technically. Like, it's dampening, you can somewhat modify it, but you don't have to actually modify the drum in any way. You don't have to apply anything to it. You don't have to stick something to the bottom and then reach for it to get it off, or hope it's not going to fall off during a show, because like moon gel or something like that, by the vibration, can often just fall down in the end. I've had that before. And the Faader F1 is really clipped down tightly. We're gonna do the same to the 16-inch just to show the effect on the biggest drum I have right here, and then we're gonna get to the end of the video with kind of my conclusion on it. And again, you can see by like me attaching it while sitting on my drum throne that I only need one hand for it. So you don't need two hands. It goes on easily once you've done it a couple of times. In the beginning, I was struggling a little to apply it, but now it's kind of like becoming more natural to actually do it. And once you figured out the mechanism, it's not a big problem. So again, the off position on the F1 and no dampening on the top side. Heads are the same. EC Reso on the bottom, Onyx on the top. Mic is inside the drum. So tons of sustain, as you can hear, and now I'm gonna just do the top head dampening with the mini Muff. Forgot to play the groove without the dampening, but let's do that now. I'm gonna disable the top side and put the Reso fader in the middle position, so 3. This actually does less than I expected it to do, to be honest. But the sustain is really nice and even. And I'm gonna now put it into the 5 position without any top hat dampening. Okay, so this is really noticeable. It's probably difficult to convey this through the microphones of the kit and everything, but for me, having it in my in-ears as well and getting the sound from the drum really directly, it also sounds different with the Reso head being dampened that much compared to the Faader head side not being dampened at all, because the kind of relationship between the two heads shifts completely, and you hear a lot more of the attack. The tone itself stays kind of the same, but it's really difficult to describe, but the sound really changes, and it's not particularly that it's longer or shorter or anything, but the makeup of the two heads and the shell and everything is shifted, and it just sounds different. Again, this is the 5 setting. And now let's crank it up to the max with the Faader head also dampened and the F1 in the max position. All right, let me reach down one last time. And to sum this up and to kind of put a conclusion underneath all what you've heard and all that I've talked about. The Snareweight Fader F1, at least in my opinion, is a very versatile tool that gives you tons of options to customize your sound. And of course, you can achieve most of what it does through different other dampening tools, such as I mentioned the other Snareweight products. You can also use gel products. There is a ton of those. Evans does the EQ pods. There is the Artom moon gels, like the kind of OG dampening gels. Then you have Slapcats and all the others. Meinl does the Drum Honey. And then you have different other products. I have the Drum Tacks as well, that are kind of just glued on. And then there is like a bunch of other stuff. There is all the big fat snare drum versions, like the donuts and the quesadillas and whatnots. And you can use your wallet. You can use so many different tools. So this doesn't reinvent the wheel, I would probably call it. But what it does is give you a lot of easy access to different dampening options, both on the batter head side of the snare drum. I mean, you can also use this for toms, of course, on the batter head side. I just showed you on the snare because it's probably the snare drum that's most versatile in what you can do with it and where the dampening does the most different sound effects. And what I really want to try in the future is experiment more with the F1 on the Reso side of my floor toms, because especially in a live situation, anything you can do to improve the sound and the life of the engineer and also your in-ear mix is really helpful. But again, let's come to one last point about this, because this is kind of a caveat, and this might be the point that kind of turns off some people, because mechanically this is kind of really sturdy, this is well built, this is metal, this is leather, and you have the adjustments, you have the development that goes into this. So the price tag for it, at least in Germany, is 65 euros at the time of making this video, and I think in the US it's about $59 right now where you can get it. So it is not a cheap tool. Compare this to like a 10 or 15 bucks you might spend on gel dampening products. So this is really the one thing that you have to think about when you get something like this. It's not gonna come cheap. I think the original Snareweight product, like the Pro version, also ran you in that price range, I think above 50 bucks, 60 bucks maybe. So it's not the first expensive dampening tool. The donut products as well from Big Fat Snare Drum, who are, by the way, the best drum meme channel on the internet right now. I love these guys. So those products are a bit more expensive as well, like 35 euros for a 14-inch right now, like the Steve's Donut or the original Donut version. So this is even above that, but it gives you a lot of flexibility, and it is not something totally static that you can just apply or not apply, where you have basically on and off. And this is just something added to a concept that already existed for a long time with a lot of different products. And it is a gadget, it is a kind of tinker tool, if you want to call it that, for the MacGyver type drummers such as myself. And I really, really like it. And for me personally, it's a definite plus on the dampening side, and I would recommend it to other drummers who want to try out something else and who've probably not found the ideal dampening solution for themselves yet. So give it a try, and if you have questions about it, leave me a comment, ask me, and I will get back to you with any details, because again, there hasn't been any coverage of this product as far as I could find it right now in December of 2024. Hope this improves over time and there is more content on it, because it's a cool little tiny gadget, and I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye.